Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and get started with today's program. I would like to thank everybody for coming out for our August Chamber Luncheon. Have a super interesting, fun, unique guest speaker today, Dr. John Pearson, Duke University. Funny story about Dr. Pearson, and I'm not going to steal all his thunder, but Dr. Pearson is a proud Southwestern warrior, and the only reason I know that is because he was the valedictorian of my senior class. He was also 15, 16 when he graduated, so he's a bit of a Doogie Howser situation going on here, but Dr. Pearson was our valedictorian. He gave a wonderful commencement speech. There's a few of us here in the room. I saw Billy Hayes. I see a few class of 96ers here today, so that's exciting. But Dr. Pearson, it's great to have you back in our community. We want to thank you for being here today. To bless today's luncheon, I'd like to ask Father Carlos Martinez from St. Mildred Catholic Church to please come forward.
Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon. My name is Father Carlos Martinez. It's the first time here in the Somerset Chamber. And well, thank you for your invitation for my congregation. And in representation of them, I'm giving you a blessing. I'm coming from St. Mildred Catholic Church here in town. I've been a pastor for 2 years, ministering in this wonderful town and people. So let us say some blessing to ask God for protection and love and unity in this day. Most gracious God, we come to you today seeking your blessing upon our community and all of those who are gathered here. Grant us, we pray, unity in our homes, our businesses, our community, our state, our nation, and our world. Empower us to play our part in creating that unity in our lives and also in all our businesses and communities. We ask this to Christ, our Lord. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Father Martinez. We have two for Tuesdays today. I see one of them making their way to the stage right now, and I'd like to ask Executive Director of the United Way of South Central Kentucky, Crystal Cox, to please come forward. Crystal, you have a couple of minutes to talk to our crowd today.
Thanks, Bobby. The last 4 years have been a whirlwind since I took the helm of your local United Way. Today, I'm not here to talk about all the great things we're doing, like our Women Empowering Young Leaders or our Real Men Read or our upcoming transportation solutions that we're going to have for our communities. Not here to talk about our wonderful coalitions that we're starting or our great volunteers that we have supporting us. Today, we're excited to launch and share with you a new promotional video about our new concept of building bridges so that everyone in our communities can thrive. We want to invite you to join us in helping our communities thrive. Before we reveal our video, I would like to say a special thanks to a New Beginnings Achievement Center for providing volunteers for us for the video, to United Cumberland Bank and James England especially for doing this video for us completely free as an in-kind donation so that we have a strong promotional piece to share in our communities. To Marvin Guerrero and his wife for being our spokes family in the video. You'll get to see them in just a moment. to our board and our volunteers for being so supportive, and to Tyra Shelton Photography providing still photography that will accompany this promo. So, Crystal, I'd like you to share our new video. In life, challenges come in many forms, from job loss, eviction, or high utility bills, to substance use, domestic violence, transportation issues, and more. Challenges don't discriminate. They meet us all at different points in life. United Way of South Central Kentucky brings community together to address the toughest challenges, ensuring everyone can thrive. Together, we are creating opportunities to access resources and education, supporting youth education, and offering pathways to safety and hope. Together, we are building bridges so everyone can thrive. And again, we would just like to thank those that participated. If you were part of making this happen, please stand so we can thank you. If you would like to join us in helping our communities to thrive, I'm set up in the back today, and we're also doing a small giveaway. So thank you all.
Thank you, Crystal. Our second two for Tuesday, I'd like to ask Coordinator of Educational Outreach and Online Programs at Lindsay Wilson College, Prenny Reisenbergs, to please come forward. There she is.
Thank you, Bobby. I am with Lindsay Wilson College, like he said, but I'm here today to talk to you for just a moment about a community outreach that I've been privileged to help direct for the last 5 years, and this is going on our 6th year. It's called Queen for a Day Kentucky, and what we do is we try to reach out to ladies in our community that maybe have forgotten their worth or just feel down on themselves, and just to encourage them. Ladies from the jails and the rehabs usually get to come and join us. We usually serve around 100 to 120. We have it here at the center, and we serve them a nice catered meal and bring them in and give them an encouraging program with ladies that have come through things that they're maybe going through, just to let them know we want to restore dignity and honor to them where it may be missing in their lives, and just to encourage them all day. They get to have their nails, hair, makeup done, get their picture taken, and shop for free in a boutique. And so we do this all just by donations. And so what I wanted to ask you all today, if any of you would be interested in helping us, we always take donations of gently used purses and jewelry to make our boutique for the ladies. And so if you're going through and cleaning out your closets, and like some of us do, just think of these ladies, and maybe you would have something that you could donate that we could use for them. We have heard so many stories from them, how blessed they are, and stories like, I've never been able to have my nails done. I've never had anyone do my hair or my makeup. We just take so many things for granted. And so if you would like some more information, you can come see me at the Lindsay table. And if you have any donations that you would like to leave for us, you can drop those at the chamber office, or just see me and I can give you some other places in town. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Penny. A couple of announcements before we get to today's guest speaker. Several information tables in the room today. I'd like to recognize those businesses and organizations. This is a free service that we provide. Anybody can take advantage of this. Just call our office. We only have a certain amount of those that we can facilitate on a monthly basis, so let us know and we can get you down for those if you would like. But I want to recognize everybody that's set up here with us today. Citizens National Bank, Hinkle Contracting Company, Fork Broadcasting, Somerset 106 Radio, the Living Bread Soup Kitchen, Watershed Art Alliance, Christine Zakati Massage and Education, Expressions Tea and Gifts, Readers to Leaders Storybook Trail, Lake Cumberland Regional Training Consortium, Lindsey Wilson College, Bourbon and Rose Event Planning, Advanced Care Pharmacy, Lake Cumberland Compass Magazine, First Choice Clinic of Somerset, United Way of South Central Kentucky, the Virginia Theater, Appalachia Financial Services, and the Andrew Dotson Go Get 'Em Foundation. Also, a couple of our Young Entrepreneur Academy students are here today. I think Ian and Claire are here. I'd love for you to go visit with them and check out some of their items. But let's give all these organizations and businesses a big round of applause. A couple of items really quickly. You should have some flyers on your tables for our annual legislative update that we facilitate as a business after hours every year. Normally it's at the Harbor Restaurant. It's still at the Harbor Restaurant, but now that's Sorrento's Bar and Grill. So it's going to be in the same location. It's going to be on the back deck. That's going to be on Thursday, August 22nd from 5:30 to 7:30. That'll be catered, and we'll have all of our local, our state elected officials. So we'll have our state senator and our state representatives there. This is always a crowd favorite that we host. We've been doing this for 6 or 7 years now. It's an opportunity to hear about legislation that was recently passed, and most importantly, talk about legislation that they will be working on for the upcoming session. So this is always of great interest to people, and I would encourage everybody to come out. There's no charge to attend this event. Again, it's on Thursday, August 22nd. I'd mark your calendars. This should be a very well-attended event. And I'm just going to put in a quick plug. I did so on the radio as well this morning. It's time to start talking about our Lake Cumberland Air Show. So I see Chris Girdler out there. So SPEDA, the Chamber of Commerce, and most importantly, Lake Cumberland Regional Airport, we all put this together. So this will be the third year that we have hosted the air show. We're anticipating 10,000 people this year. This will become one of our largest community events that we have here. The Christmas parade is the air show. The Chamber likes to get involved. We like big events at the Chamber. We don't like small things. So anybody that would be interested in that, this is the time right now to circle that Saturday, September 21st on your calendars. It's a world-class air show. It's something to be proud of for a small town like this. You can go to Lexington, Louisville, Evansville, Indiana. You can go to big cities and you can see some really great air shows. But to have a really great air show in a town the size of Somerset is pretty darn impressive. And it is a top-tier air show. So I would encourage everybody to come out to this. If this is the time, too, if you're looking to be a sponsor. If you want good visibility, there's going to be 10,000 people there. So this is the time to think about those things. Don't call me. Call Chris Girdler. He'll take your money. He'd be happy to. It's going to be a great air show. There's going to be a lot of fun bells and whistles that we're working on this year. We've doubled our transportation efforts to get everybody to and from. We're going to make it better. Every year we try to make it better. We've learned a lot since the first year we did this, and I'm excited, and hopefully everybody will come out to that and enjoy it. It's a great community event. In saying that, I think I'm done. I'm going to turn the program over to my boss, President of the Chamber of Commerce this year, Lisa Phelps.
Thank you, Bobby. It is my pleasure to call our August Chamber Luncheon meeting to order. Can't believe it's already August. I would like to welcome our guests, our public officials, and our members. I would like to recognize our public officials that are in attendance today, Judge Marshall Todd and Mayor Alan Keck. We appreciate the support that you show in our business community. Okay. I'd like to recognize our sponsors. They are listed on the wall behind me as well as on the table. We'd like to thank our world-class sponsors, our Chairman Circle sponsors, and our Ambassador Circle sponsors for their generous financial support. I'd like to thank Laura Glover and Lonnie Lawson, the Center for Rural Development, for this wonderful venue. Thank you to Sandy and Sassy Spoons Catering for the delicious meal, and to Coca-Cola Bottling Company of Somerset and Pepsi-Cola Bottling of Somerset for supplying the drinks today. Now I would like to have First Vice President Laura Glover come up to introduce our new members.
Thank you so much, Lisa. So last time, everyone was so energetic at welcoming our new members. Hopefully we have that same energy today. The first new member, Bourbon and Rose Event Planning, Kristen Henderson, Madeline Cantrell. If you could please stand up to be recognized. Bray and Oakley Insurance, Devin York. Surveha 1 LLC, Chris Sheetland. Woo! I love the energy. Diamond and Diva Catering and Food Trailer, Darlene and Jeff Newell. Escape With Us US RV Resort, Carrie Reed. Hurst Detailing, William Hurst. Again, stand up if you're here so we can acknowledge you. Jack Cummins Contracting, Jack Cummins. Laced Up Barbershop, David Miller. Again, stand up. We just want to acknowledge you. Lake Cumberland Compass, Lisa and Jordan Powell. Melissa Irwin Taylor, Business Services. Melissa Taylor. Moose Properties, Hallie Matthews Hoke. Pinnacle Roofing, Jenna Roof. REBK Rentals, LLC, Karen Wilson. Somerset Auto Repair, Travis Dykes. St. Mildred Catholic Church, Marshetta McKinney. The Appliance Stock, LLC, Ian Ware. Union Home Mortgage, Holly Matthews Hook. Again. Wolf Creek Village Resort, Shannon Burton. And thank you again for all of our new members, and for those that did not stand up, I hope I did not scare you from standing up.
Thank you, Laura. Now I would like to thank our corporate sponsors today, Hinkle Contracting Company and Citizens National Bank. We appreciate your sponsorship of today's luncheon. Hinkle Contracting Company has graciously rendered their time to our speaker, but I would like to welcome Josh Edwards, Senior Lender of Citizens National Bank, to come to the podium.
Good afternoon. As Lisa mentioned, I'm Josh Edwards with Citizens National Bank, currently the senior lender. Citizens National Bank is locally owned and has been a major part of the downtown Somerset area, where we celebrated 100 years of service in February of 2020. We've always been locally owned and have continued to grow without any acquisitions or mergers. Today, we currently have 10 locations, 7 in Pulaski County, where we currently hold 27% of the market share, 1 location in Wayne County, Russell County, and Jasmine County, and I'll also offer a wealth management department. Of course, none of this growth could have occurred without the help of the communities and our loyal customers, which we're blessed to serve. With that said, we're a community bank that believes in giving back to the community. We have continued to give to numerous charities and love supporting our local schools. Our staff are always friendly and willing to go the extra mile to help the customer. We also have experienced lenders to help with any personal or business needs. Once again, we are thankful for our customers and community and looking forward to serving you all in the future. Thank you.
Skipped over some of my notes. I want to now recognize our ambassadors. They're a valuable asset to making our small staff here at the Chamber successful. If you are an ambassador, if you'd please stand to be recognized. One ambassador stood out this month, and our ambassador of the month is Mike Vance with Country Boy Wood Crafts. If Mike would please come forward. Now I would like to introduce today's speaker, Duke University Assistant Professor Neurobiology, Dr. John Pearson. John earned his bachelor's degree in physics and mathematics from the University of Kentucky and his PhD in physics from Princeton. He became a neuroscientist at Duke University, where he did his postdoctoral training with Michael Platt, investigating the neurobiology of reward and decision making. Work in the Pearson Lab focuses on the application of machine learning methods to the analysis of brain data and behavior. In particular, they are interested in questions like, how do songbirds learn complex skills like singing on their own? What can information theory tell us about how the eyes see? And explain, how do we design new types of neuroscience experience that learn and adapt in real time? Please welcome Dr. John Pearson.
So, all right. We good? All right. Thank you, everybody. It is an absolute honor to be here, and I am thrilled to be back and to have gotten to see so many people that it's been a very long time, too long since I've seen. I also want to stop before I get started and take a moment to recognize some guests who are with us today. There are students off to my right who are here from local county high schools, Somerset, PC, Southwestern, as part of a week-long class that I am conducting over at the hospital, where we're talking about some of the topics that I'm talking about today in depth with some really talented students from our local high schools. This is a class that was put together by Chris Girdler at SPEDA, who's been a pleasure to work with. And so I just want to stop and recognize them now, if we can, with a round of applause. You know, it's my hope that in not too many years they will be sitting where you are, or maybe standing where I am, and you're going to get to hear about the great things that they've done. So I have a lot to get through today. I am going to do my best to be on time. I'm setting my watch right now so I can get you all out of here on time, but I really appreciate the chance to come and speak to you about some of the work that my lab is doing. Now, I'm going to start with this, though. And some of you who are in the medical profession are familiar with conflict of interest disclosures. I have no conflicts of interest today, and these numbers may not necessarily mean anything to you, but these are my grant numbers. So the first two are to me, the others are to my colleagues. These are federal dollars from the National Institutes of Health that support our research, and this is an opportunity for me to say thank you. This is federally funded research through the largesse of taxpayers, and one of my goals here today is to justify to you that this money is well spent and we are making progress on the problems and the diseases that you really care about, and we do too. So, that said, I have to start today by telling you, as you might have already heard, that I am not really a neuroscientist. I'm kind of faking it. But I am a man with a very particular set of skills. And if you go to my lab and you look around, it does not look like a typical neuroscience lab. There are no animals in my lab. There are no beakers, no test tubes. We don't even have a sink in there. But what we do have are we have really fancy, tricked-out computers that are built from scratch by my students from parts. If any of you are gamers out there or have kids who are gamers, there are two 4090 GPUs in here, so you can get a sense of the kind of power we're dealing with. And so, whereas my colleagues in the Department of Neurobiology might tell you that the focus of their research is in vision or the sense of hearing or the sense of smell, I would tell you that we are a computational neuroscience lab. And what that really means is that we come up with theories of the brain, and we do that with math. Now, I've already promised you in my title that I'm going to tell you a little bit about that. But before I do, I want to tell you a little bit about my story, because I think it helps to both give me an opportunity to recognize the benefit that I had from so many people in this community who believed in me, but also to tell you a little bit about how neuroscience is a very interdisciplinary field now. And even though I'm not trained as a neuroscientist, we are making contributions to that research. So, as many of you know, I grew up just down the road in Burnside. My parents still live here in town. I am a product of Burnside Elementary and what was then Southern Junior High School and Southwestern, and came up through there. At the same time, just before entering high school, I started taking classes at Somerset Community College. I believe I was the first student to do that, though I've heard that now this is a really thriving program and students are getting to experience those college classes. I should also point out that really my first mentor in science and the person who taught me what math was really about, Kathy Lewis, is here today, and so I want to say thank you to Kathy. And I want to do that without getting choked up myself, because people who have believed in me have had a tremendous impact on the trajectory of my life. And in some form or other, I use those things that she taught me every day. Calculus is now the language in which I think and have worked for my adult life and beyond. So I left here. I graduated early. I left here. I went to the University of Kentucky. I was very generously supported by scholarships there. And I knew from about the time I entered middle school that I wanted to be a physicist. I was enthralled by relativity and quantum mechanics, and let's be honest, it was Star Wars. But I thought those things were amazing, and the more math it had, the more I wanted to do it. And so I went to Kentucky, and I was a physics and math major and pretty much took nothing but physics and math for 3 years and graduated. And at the end of that, was awarded a fellowship from the National Science Foundation. That is still a program that runs today. It allows a tremendous cohort of people to go to the graduate school of their choice. And I ended up in Princeton, New Jersey for 5 years and finished there in 2004 with my PhD. I worked on topics in theoretical physics. I'm happy to tell you about that, but otherwise we can nod politely and move on. Now, that's part of the story. That is the story that is on my academic CV, my resume, but it's not the whole story. And I think the rest of the story is important too. I really struggled in graduate school. And this is not a thing that I think we tend to tell in academia. We tell about our successes. I went to Princeton and I fell in with the smartest group of people I have ever met in my life. And I found out what it was for the first time in my life to be in the bottom of the class. They let me graduate, but I tell you, with no exaggeration, I had stress dreams my whole last semester. They weren't going to let me finish. And I applied to about 50 postdoctoral positions and did not get offered one of them. And so it was clear by the time I was done with graduate school that I was not going to be a physicist anymore. That was my dream, and that was not going to happen. And so in a very uninspiring turn of events, at the end of my time in graduate school, I came back here, and I lived with my folks who took me in when I did not have a job for about 1.5 years. And so to blow the last of my credibility as a role model, I can tell the students who are here today, I never figured out what to do with my life. I am like most of us, just making it up as I go along, but it worked out okay. And part of the way that it worked out okay is in that time while I was here and asking desperately what I was going to do with my life, I started thinking about the last time that doing science had been fun for me. And the last time was a weird little class I took my last year in graduate school. It was not a class I had to take, and worse than that, it was a 3-hour seminar after lunch on a Thursday afternoon. And it was a class that, I'm not gonna lie, we all kind of thought was weird because it was not a hardcore physics class. We weren't learning about lasers or black holes or superconductors or any of these things that everybody gets excited who's like me who wants to do physics. It was about like cells and flies flying around and DNA, and that class was called biophysics, and we a little bit thought it was for losers. But there was a weird thing that happened. So this was my professor in the class. This is Bill Bialik. He's an amazing researcher. He is one of the world's best people in what I do. And what Bill would do, Bill looks a little bit like a wizard in a fantasy novel, and so Bill would do his own magic trick. He would stand in front of the board. We didn't have PowerPoint then. He would kind of pull his beard, and he'd stand there with his piece of chalk, and Bill would start to ask a very basic question, which is, if you're a little bacterium floating around, how do you decide where to go next? How do you decide where sugar is in the environment and how you get it, and just how you do these things where there's no brain involved, and there's a lot of noise in the world. And 3 hours later, Bill would come to some kind of answer. He would take all this data from biology, and he would think about it like a physicist. He would talk about noise, and he would talk about signal, and by the end, it would make sense. And I thought, that's kind of cool. And then the semester ended, and I forgot all about it. But while I was here, I started going back through my notes from that class. They're actually the notes from Bill's class that became this book, and the subtitle of that biophysics book is In Search of Principles. And that's going to be a theme for my talk today. And I started to think about maybe I need to give academia another chance. I've heard people say this about a career in art. In some ways, I just didn't know what else to do with my life. And so I sent out applications, and I had somebody, again, take a chance on me, and I moved with a brand new faculty member to the Department of Neurobiology at Duke, which is actually my department today. And I started out at Duke, and I was going to be a physicist who did neuroscience. Now, the truth is, I am far from the first person to do this. I already told you about Bill Bialik, but the truth is, there's a long tradition of people who did physics studying biology. And this goes back to Helmholtz in the 19th century, who did experiments both in understanding basic vision, how we see, but also in understanding how bioelectricity worked in muscles. And later, in 1944, Erwin Schrödinger, who's one of the founders of quantum mechanics, has this beautiful book called What is Life? This is before we knew the structure of DNA. And Schrödinger is asking questions like, how do you have life that reproduces when the laws of thermodynamics tend to say that things should fall into disorder? And so there is this long tradition, especially in the 20th century, of people who were trained as physicists going off into other fields with all of their hubris and saying, we can solve your problems. Now, that's the background. But why does it matter if you were somebody who's trained as a physicist or a biologist or a psychologist or an art historian if you want to understand the brain? Just this. If you are trying to develop a new drug, maybe it doesn't matter. If you are trying to develop a new brain implant, maybe it doesn't matter. And I have colleagues who do both of these things, and they're amazing. They're amazing at their jobs. But arguably, and I'm not the only person who would say this, one of the reasons that we have failed to make a lot of progress in brain disorders in the last 50 or 60 years is that there are still key ideas that we are missing in brain science. We have not put the whole picture together. So I want you to think about it like this. Imagine you take a car, and you're going to take my imaginary time machine. You're going to take this Ford Mustang GT, and you're going to take it back to Elizabethan England. If you're not great on your kings and queens of England, this is like the last part of the 1500s. I want you to think Shakespeare. And your car is broken, and you take it to the blacksmith. That blacksmith is not going to be able to fix your car, and if he does, it is by sheer dumb luck. Maybe if you need a part made, and you give him a drawing, and you give him some guidance, he's going to be able to make that part. But he certainly has no idea, even if he gets lucky and fixes something, how he's going to fix anything else. Now, I want you to imagine going forward about 250 years. This is now Victorian England, early 1900s, pre-World War I. And now you're going to go to a mechanic. That mechanic is not going to understand any of this. He is not going to understand the circuits that control the fuel mix in your car. He is not going to understand all the fancy computerized systems or anything else. But he does have two advantages. One is that he has seen an engine before. Maybe it's a steam engine, but it's an engine. But the more important thing is he understands what an engine is for, and he understands the principles on which an engine works. So he also will not be able to fix everything about your car, but he will be able to fix some things. We would say in the first case that the blacksmith has data, the mechanic has a theory. For my purposes today, when I talk about a theory, what I am talking about is the way that we replace data, that we replace observations with principles that let us reason about a system. At this point, thankfully, we are not hurting for data in neuroscience. Thanks to the BRAIN Initiative, which was started under President Obama and continued under Presidents Trump and Biden, we have had a massive leap forward in the last 10 years in our ability to measure and manipulate brain activity, to perform amazing experiments that allow us to observe the brain of animals and of humans at absolutely stunning levels of detail. What we don't have are those principles. What we don't have are the basic intellectual building blocks that would really let us reason about what's wrong in neurological disease. Now, that's all very abstract. So I want to tell you, in my time remaining, about one particular example of this that we work on in my lab. I have become obsessed with this problem in the last 7 years because I believe it is our best shot at understanding a really critical class of public health problems. This is a zebra finch. It's a little songbird. It's native to Australia. And my computer is not hooked up to audio, and I'm not going to try to imitate it. But I can tell you, everyone in my field is supposed to be able to imitate it, and I'm just not even going to try. But they sing a little song. It sounds basically like a dog got a chew toy in its mouth. So it's not the most mellifluous thing you've ever heard. But if you were a female zebra finch, it is Luther Vandross and Barry White and Elvis all rolled into one. Those birds, from the time they're about a month old, the males have to learn to sing. And so for about the first month of their life, they're listening to the song of an adult male who is their tutor. After about a month, they have that song memorized, and they will use that memory to guide their learning for the rest of their lives. We know this because if you expose a juvenile to as few as 200 or 300 repetitions of this song and you take that male away, that juvenile will sing just fine. He's got it all locked away. For the second month of their life, they start to practice thousands of times a day. Over and over again, they will practice this song, and as the weeks go by for that third month of their life, they are getting closer and closer to copying the song of that tutor. And they don't stop there. As adults, female zebra finches are picky. You can't have like a beat quality song and hope you're going to get anywhere. So you have to keep practicing to keep that vocal instrument in tune. And they play around, they kind of noodle around and try small variations of it, but you put a female in front of them and they lock it down and they perform with a regularity that is almost unparalleled. They use the fastest muscles in the animal kingdom. They perform with millisecond level precision. It takes almost any feat of sports or music you have ever seen and puts it to shame. Now, I tell you all of that because that's half of the story. The other half of the story is this. For the last 50 years, people in my field have been working on the brain of the zebra finch. That's over here at the left, if you can see. And over here on the right, that little tiny thing up in the upper left corner is the actual finch brain at scale. And that's a human brain there on the right. The amazing thing that turns out to be true and makes this an incredibly powerful system to do science with is that there are a set of locations in that zebra finch's brain, there are a set of brain circuits that are only for singing. The behavior is so important to this bird that it has evolved a set of circuits that only are active when it is singing or learning to sing. And the combination of those two things is incredibly powerful because what it means is that when we do experiments, they are easier to set up. The interpretations are cleaner. And over the last 50 years, biologists have done a remarkable job of figuring out what the individual parts of that song circuit do, how they allow the finch to learn, and how they allow those males to perform at such a high level. But it gets better. And this is where my lab comes in, because it turns out that for this process, we do have a theory. In my lab, we sit at the intersection of biological and artificial intelligence. So on the one hand, we ask things like, given the huge advances in machine learning and AI in the last 15 years, how do we use those techniques to understand brain data and look for patterns in the data that give rise to hypotheses that our collaborators can test? At the same time, we build these highly simplified models of biological intelligence, of birds and monkeys and mice and humans, and try to figure out really simple principles that we can simulate on a computer that will give us clues as to how we should be thinking about these systems. And so, about 25 years ago, two people in my field suggested that there was a particular theory that could explain birdsong learning, and that theory is called reinforcement learning. Now, many of you might have had a psychology class many, many years ago, and you hear about pigeons that are pecking on keys or mice that are pressing levers, and that was the original inspiration, psychology experiments in the 30s and 40s and 50s. Now, the computer scientists got a hold of this, and they said, that's a great way to train an artificial agent. We're going to make some decisions, we're going to get rewards, and that's it. And so in the 1980s and 90s, while nobody in the general public was looking, the computer scientists went nuts with this. And they produced in pretty quick succession the world's best backgammon player, better than any human. This was in the 1990s. And then it really took off about 2015, where they quickly produced the world's best StarCraft player. And just a couple of years ago, something that I think, honestly, a lot of people thought we would never see, the best Go player in the world that beat Lee Sedol, who's the world champion, in an absolutely stunning series of matches. Go is an incredibly complex game. The thing you need to understand is many times more complex than chess. And now the best player in the world is a computer. So that's reinforcement learning. And what my colleagues conjectured 25 years ago was that the pieces of this birdsong circuit could be put into correspondence with the pieces in the reinforcement learning for the computer scientists. And to give you the high-level version of that, we want to think about three things that you need to be able to do. One is we need something that tries out new stuff. That is, the bird needs to try some variants of its singing, and it needs a circuit to make that variable behavior. We think we know what that is. The second is that you need something to compare how well you did. In the case of the bird, that means you have to compare to your memory of what that tutor sang months or years ago in your life. We think we have the beginnings of that, and in my lab, we actually think we have a serious advance there. The third piece is that you need to know how to change your behavior. And the rule turns out to be really simple. If you got something better than what you thought you would get, you do more of it. If you get something worse than what you thought you would get, you do less. Those really simple rules, combined with a lot of practice, are capable of producing some really incredible stuff. And so in my lab, we're really working to fill in this picture. I work with an amazing group of individuals, undergrads all the way through postdocs from all over the world. It is a tremendous amount of fun, and of course, all the stuff I'm telling you about from my lab is really done by these people. I come up and take the credit, and that's how it works. So in my lab, we're really interested in problems like, how do these birds decide what to explore next? How do you manage to hear a song only 200 times and remember it with that kind of fidelity for the rest of your life? And in fact, I can tell you, this is not published yet, but we have work under review that's really exciting, showing that dopamine, which is the chemical that tells us actually how to update that behavior, does give indications of what the bird's learning is going to be days or weeks in the future. So that's currently under review. That's with a colleague of mine, Rich Mooney, just elected to the National Academy of Sciences, who's really the world's expert on the birds and roped me into all of this. All right. All that said, there are some of you who remember that I started this talk with my NIH grants. And you're all nice people, and so you're probably not going to say it to my face, but some of you were like, how much money did they give him again? And can we get some of that money back? Here's the thing. The other fact that you need to understand is some of those bird learning circuits are not just in birds. They're actually in every single animal that has a backbone. Everything from really tiny lampreys to mice, to monkeys, to humans. They're called the basal ganglia, and you might not have heard of that before. But what you might like to know is that when a particular part of those basal ganglia, the ventral tegmental area, when those neurons stop producing dopamine, you get the rigidity and the slowness and the tremor of Parkinson's. When these circuits have bad and pathological activity that rattles around in them persistently, you get the compulsions of OCD. And when the inputs to those circuits get hijacked by very powerful pharmaceutical agents, you get substance use disorder. Most of you have heard of these things. Many of you know someone who suffers from one of these things. And so whatever you thought 5 minutes ago, I hope now you care very deeply about singing birds. I think that this little circuit in this little bird is our absolute best hope of understanding all of these diseases, which share a common biological circuit. And this is the power of basic science. This is what I want to tell you today, where we attack a fundamental problem that cuts across all of these diseases. And we do it because we, as a nation, have had the foresight to fund these things. I will tell you that it's estimated that the antiretroviral drugs that are used to treat HIV now have saved our country more money than the entire NIH budget of the 1980s. It is estimated that if we could push back the onset of Alzheimer's by 10 years, not cure, just push back the onset for baby boomers, we would save a decade's worth of NIH budget. A budget that I will point out, in an entirely self-serving aside, has not gone up in real terms since Newt Gingrich and the Contract with America. 30 years of stagnant or decreasing NIH funding. The truth is, that funding is the seed capital for the innovation that my children and my grandchildren will innovate. But it comes with risk. Not every oil well you drill is a gusher, but it is your willingness to make bets widely and consistently that really yields dividends. It's an amazing time to be in neuroscience. We are now capable not just of looking at one cell like this, but are creating atlases of all the cell types across the human brain. Unprecedented levels of detail and depth and complexity of data. But we have not yet got all the ideas that I think we need. This is Tycho Brahe. Tycho Brahe is an astronomer, and he lives at the end of the 16th century. And Tycho Brahe, in his day, spent his entire career as a scientist charting the progress of the sun and the moon and the stars across the heavens. Pages and pages and pages of tables. These are 2 sheets from volumes that he produced of all of this stuff. But it was not Tycho Brahe who put our picture of the solar system together. For that, it took a Galileo and a Kepler, who was Brahe's student, and an Isaac Newton to replace all of those hundreds and hundreds of pages to 3 laws of motion. 3 laws of motion for all of this. We in neuroscience are in our Tycho Brahe phase. We have not yet, I think, figured out the key ideas to put it all together. But maybe in our lifetimes. And so what we're excited about is that right now, the brain is waiting for its own 3 laws of motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pearson. The Chamber would like to present to you the Friend of the Chamber certificate. Okay, now, if you will be getting your door prize tickets out. While you're doing that, I will remind you of our next luncheon. Mark your calendars for Tuesday, September the 3rd. That will be our city and county address with Pulaski County Judge Executive Marshall Todd and City of Somerset Mayor Alan Keck. So are we ready? Our first number is 578-858, and that's for 20 free personalized notepads from M&W Printing. Our second door prize is a $20 RB Dry Cleaner gift certificate from RB Dry Cleaners. 578-815. $578-815. takers, I will draw another ticket. Okay. 578754. Buffalo Wings and Rings gift card, $25 from Buffalo Wings and Rings. 578807. Five seven eight 807. Our next is Hardee's gift card, $20 from Hardee's South, and that is 603656. Hinkle Contracting Company has donated an R-Tech backpack cooler. Ticket number 578738. Five 578738. I'll call another ticket. 578843. Our last store prize is from Citizens National Bank. It's a $100 gift card for the Chalet. 578799. And to conclude today's meeting, I'll ask Jacob Cheney with Hinkle to come and lead our pledge.